Speaking of which, do you guys know that the way they lost this money is really interesting? So my prior assumption had been that that they wouldn't stoop to a level of depravity that I thought was unconscionable. But of course, I was wrong. So I assumed,
Right.
yeah, exactly. I assumed there's no way these guys could be that bad. And like I said, I was wrong. They lent themselves money from the customers' deposits. Now, it's already a problem when you lend yourself money from a financial institution. But if you quote unquote lend yourself money, the problem is like you don't have any person that's like sizing up that loan and saying, okay, well this is a fair loan or this is an unfair loan because it has to be fair to the lender, right? The lender should be getting the best possible loan, which usually is some high interest rate or some high collateral or something like that where it's like juicy enough for the risk. Otherwise, why would the lender part with their money? Just be safe with their money. So the lender, of course, is FTX's customers who have no idea that they're lending this money out. Because the recipient of the loan is Sam Bankman-Fried. He borrowed $3 billion from $8 or $10 billion. Now, how sick is that? You have customers who want to invest in crypto. They're hearing about this great new technology. They want to take a gamble. They put $10 billion in. You take three or four of it because you can't describe this as a loan. Because if you're approving your own loan, it's not a loan. It's a seizure. It's a taking. And he took $3 billion of other people's money that they needed, that they wanted on-demand deposits. They did not sign up to loan this money to anybody. And we don't know what the interest rate was. We don't know if there was any collateral, clearly not. And the guy borrowed $3 billion, spent a lot of money, quite a lot of money, on all kinds of garbage. And the good news is, that's actually good news, even though that it's as scary as that is. It would have been bad news if what I thought happened. What I thought happened was they basically were these true crypto believers, which, will kind of make sense, right? Having the big crypto exchange. And that they bet on crypto, that they bet big on crypto and lost. Crypto prices have dropped, right? So my thought is, okay, they bet big on crypto and they got hammered. And so they basically were down a bunch of money. And they have to sort of, fess up to the fact that they lost all this money. That's not what happened at all. What happened is they put the money in their pocket. Now that's good news. Why is that good news? Because money that's put into somebody's pocket can be taken out again. That's what happened to Madoff. Madoff did not make bets on the stock market, even though he said he was doing so. He basically just, lied. And instead of making bets on the stock market, he just, kind of pretended he did. And that's a kind of a good thing for his clients because they could just say, oh, well, where's the money then? Let's just grab it. Give us our money. And the people that took over Madoff's operation after he turned himself in, they were able to go find the money and take it. So this is actually kind of, if you're going to have a thieving scumbag, this is kind of the best type of thieving scumbag to have because if he might still have $1 billion or $2 billion sitting around that he loaned to himself. Now, obviously, some of the money was lost, but the question is to follow the cash. Where did all the cash go? And go grab it back. The bankruptcy court and the criminal courts have the ability to go take all that money that was missing, or that is missing, and go, make sure that it goes back to where it's supposed to be. So I actually think FTX may be in better shape than I thought, and it might be worth, and I'm going to maybe poke around and see if this is possible, it might be worth buying some of the FTX accounts. If somebody's willing to sell you, let's say, an account that has $1 million or had $1 million in it, if someone's willing to sell that for $50,000, I'd be interested, in buying that for 5 cents. 5 cents
You
in the
can
dollar.
get back all the political donations.
Well, those should be
advertisement deals.
those would be tricky. No, on some of those, definitely not. I don't think you can get the advertising deals back. Those are kind of buyer beware type of things. It would take a really altruistic company to say, "Oh, you can have this money back." I think political donations, maybe. I mean, who knows? But I doubt it as well. Usually, they spend that money on staffers and ads as soon as they get it. I mean, it's like burning a hole in their pocket.
I didn't have any money in FTX, but if I had an account that was like $75 million, and then after FTX collapsed, I found out that Sam Bankman-Fried had spent all my money on the Democrats, I'd be okay with that. That's what I was going to spend it on.
There you go.
So,
Do you think there's a possibility that like all the crypto is just staked somewhere for like an indefinite amount of time, so it's not as easy to, it's not just sitting in his pocket, it might be like tied up somewhere.
It's not clear what, how, or where, or any of this stuff, what's
Yeah.
going on. But I do think that there is a chance of, not would say solvency, but there's a chance of recovery here that's substantial. And I'm curious, who out there has a bunch of money in FTX? What are they going to do with it? Or is it possible that they will sell their account? I know people are willing to trade the rights to their account legally. The Madoff people did that. When the news of Madoff's fraud happened, Madoff people sold their Madoff claims for like 10 cents on the dollar, and recovery was like 50 cents. So people made 5 times their money. When I say people, I mean speculators that bought these claims. Basically bought these accounts, were able to make 5 times their money. So I think there'll be a robust FTX trading ecosystem that will come up. Maybe FTX should make that their new product.
speculating on how much of your money you lost.
Yeah, how much of your money will get back? Because I think that they're going to take everything Sam has. I mean, everything, and they're going to have to really track it down carefully, because my guess is some of that is in a place that nobody can access, including some of the money from Carolyn and so forth. Now, all it takes is them to be honest, and I do think that the law, well, one, you have some blockchain evidence, right, that is going to be, they're not going to be able to refute. And I think the law will pressure them to sort of being more honest. Now, again, these are people who are thieves of a scale that I didn't even believe was possible. But I do think with knowing the government as I know them, pressure can be brought to bear. I'm not talking about torture or something like that, but you can put a lot of pressure on somebody to confess where the money is. And I'll give you a stupid example, but your family could very easily get indicted. And that's what they do when they meet a tough guy like myself, or they didn't do it to me in this instance, but I've seen it many times when the government meets a tough guy that says, I'm not telling you anything. I'm not taking a plea. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Go fuck yourself. They said, okay, we have something for you. And they pull up any transcript or any kind of piece of evidence, even remotely related, because they know that they can make this work in court. And they say, oh, well, it looks like you sent your wife $10 million. Guess what? Your wife's now a felon. And the amount of felonies you can conjure to thin air are pretty substantial. There's a crime in America called misprison. I guarantee you've never heard of it. Misprison is when you witness a crime. All right? So if you witness a crime in America, it is a crime to not report it. It is called misprison. It's a weird name. I don't know where it comes from. But it literally means a crime that you saw and didn't report. And it is illegal to commit misprison. And you can go to jail for committing misprison. And there are people, you might say, oh, I'm built for jail. Oh, I can do it, no problem. I can do it in my sleep. Okay, cool. But is your grandma ready to go to jail? Are you ready to do that? Are you that sociopathic that they could put your father, mother, girlfriend, wife, whomever they want in prison? Because it's very easy to sort of say, okay, well, the federal book of laws is very, very large. It's not even a book. It wouldn't fit in a book. So it's quite easy to say, all right, well, we got you on this or that. And the conviction rate at jury trial is 95, 99%. So, you might say, oh, well, we'll just fight that. Okay, well, it costs millions of dollars to fight. And, even people with millions of dollars lose, myself, for example. So, what are you going to do about that? And I think eventually these people say, you know what, I'd rather not my family go to jail too. Let me just tell them what they need to know. And a lot of those are contingent on you telling the truth. So if you try to scam again and try to lie and say, well, the money's here, but it's not here, they'll find out and the whole charade begins again. So I don't know. Eventually the government does get a little lazy and says, we've had enough playing around with this, and the case is closed. They move on to something else. But it'll be really interesting to see if they recover all this money, because apparently they lent $500 million to Sam's partner, which nobody's talking about because nobody knows him relative to Sam. Sam's the big dog. So it's possible that they end up kind of getting that money back. So you're starting to piece together some real money here that possibly could return. And I like to speculate. So maybe the speculation here is to find somebody who's got a big FTX account. Listen, if they're willing to sell it for nothing, they're like, listen, I need anything. I'll take any amount of money for this right now. Hey, I'm in, you're going to get something back. It's going to take years. But the Madoff receiver was able to send money out constantly. That guy was so good. Irving Picard, he sent out so much money to those receivers, to those claimants. Most receivers are not very good. When I say good, they're not very effective. It usually takes 10, 20 years for these things to wind themselves down. And by then, nobody really cares. They've already written their money off. They're like, oh, it's over. And the receivers cost quite a lot of money, believe it or not. So they end up getting a cut of what they recover. So a lot of these receivers end up becoming very rich because they will fight really hard to get the money because it's going to be partially their money. Sorry?
It's going to be theirs, yeah.
Yeah, they get a couple percent. So they're heavily incentivized to make sure they get as much as they can. And that's fine. I mean, that model works, Whatever works for the person who is, owed the money, I think that's fine. So interesting times with this saga, but
Let's say that hypothetically, you've been asked once again to don the Harambe hat and serve as Arbiter of Justice, Judge Shkreli.
yes.
And you've been asked by the authorities to sentence SBF to whatever punishment you morally and ethically deem fit. What do you think his punishment should be?
Oh boy. Under our current.
I have a good suggestion, I think.
Well, let me do mine and then you can do yours. So
Okay.
I would say. So I'm going to give you two answers. I'm going to give you the Martin Shkreli version, which is I'm the judge. We're going to plan it Shkreli. We have nothing to do with the U.S. legal system.
Yeah.
I would say that, and I'm going to be more generous than what's going to happen to him. I would say he should do 10 years in prison. I think he should be working throughout that entire time. Like, this is not just kick your feet up prison. He should be working to create more value. All of that value should go to the people that he owes money to for the rest of his life. And he should work off his debt, at the end of the day. I think that's the best, some punishment for sure. But, he should be attempting to recover those funds for the rest of his life, which sort of is the way our judicial system works. I don't think keeping him in jail forever will just do anything other than poison his mind. It will serve as a deterrent, for sure. But this guy's whole life is kind of a deterrent, So that's that. I think in reality, he will either get life or 30-something years. I was thinking maybe he should get 30 years. I don't believe in life sentence for a financial crime. That seems kind of crazy and cruel. But 30 years, he'd be out. Well, maybe 40 years. He'd be out when he's 60. And I think by then, maybe he'd have learned his lesson. But I don't know. It's really tricky because I would say that he would probably have to be surveilled and monitored for future crimes because he's the kind of person that would be pretty difficult to ever trust again. So I don't know. Those are a couple thoughts. What do you think?
I think take away all his money, right, and then just make him live with me, make him my roommate. And this is really multifaceted.
Live with Cryptodamus.
So first of all, I used to